My book report presentation is on 1st and 2nd Samuel of the Old Testament. In the Hebrew Bible, 1st and 2nd Samuel were originally one book called the Book of Samuel. There were altogether 31 chapters in 1st Samuel and 24 chapters in 2nd Samuel. Although it was not stated, Samuel was likely involved in writing some of the earlier events in the book prior to his death, together with other unidentified authors. The Book of Samuel covers the period of 150 years in Israel's history, starting from Samuel's birth in 1121 BC till the end of David's reign. The audience of the book was the nation of Israel. God wished to remind them how the kingdom came to be established and consolidated, as well as teach some spiritual truths. Samuel was a prophet, established as a recognized and verified man of God. He was also asked by God to find and anoint Saul, and later anoint David. The Book of Samuel records Israel's tradition from rule by judges to rule by kings. God provided a king for his people. Saul was the first king of Israel. He had unusual physical strength, but he failed his people. He has mental acumen, but he eventually turned into a madman. He lacked spiritual insight and power, and eventually disobeyed God. Saul's reign was also a disaster. At the beginning of his reign, Israel was virtually without a leader. At its end, it was under the control of an enemy neighbor, the Philistines. Saul was never able to expand the border of Israel because he was never strong to dominate the enemy neighbors. The story of Saul is tragic. He was a man who had it all, yet he died in despair and knowing he had failed God. Saul's problem is one we all face as well, a problem of the heart. Obedience to God's will is necessary as Christians. If we rebel against God, we set ourselves to fail. Saul's disobedience and pride and lack of trust in God led to his fall. After his death, God gave his people another king. This time, he was a man after God's heart. God asked Samuel to anoint David and replace Saul as a new king. David's story was one of the most glorious in the scripture. David was Israel's greatest king, but with major flaws. Even a man like David, one who truly desires to follow God and was richly blessed by God, was also susceptible to temptation. If he obeyed God, everything is okay. But if he disobeys God, everything is not okay. So anyone can fall. No one is perfect. So we have to guard our hearts, our eyes, and our minds. Pride over spiritual maturity is the first step of failure. God prepared David for the throne, but in all of David's training, God was actually the one moving forward. David's heart was always affixed on trusting God and not on his own circumstances. David fixed his heart on God alone, so that every choice he made in life was passed through that filter only. David was not sinless, but he repented and God has forgiven him. So what is the message?